A question we have all asked ourselves many times. Together, we can start uncovering the truth and mystery behind the darker side of the otherworldly. And now your host of See You in the Dark, Michelle Roos.
Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us again this wonderful Tuesday evening with See You in the Dark. Had an amazing weekend, was at the XCon and met some phenomenal people. We were talking about cryptids, UFOs, Bigfoot, paranormal, which we had some crazy paranormal happening over there, and met some people that I'm going to be able to call friends for life. And so, what better way to kind of close it all out? Of course, I did post that, I finished my weekend at Buc-ee's, got me lots of snacks. But to be able to bring on my next guest is, a person that's kind of, I think, done it all. He's actually been the visionary behind an acclaimed documentary series called Searching for Sasquatch, which has been really great because I know while I was at the XCon, I was so intrigued about, the Bigfoot, the theories, some of the things they've talked, and somebody was speaking about different languages and things like that. And so I was like, oh, this is going to be great because I'm always on that paranormal side. I've always wanted to go searching for it, but I probably would be a little scared. But my guest tonight is Jason Kenzie. And like I said, he's got a great documentary series that's called Searching for Sasquatch, which you guys will be able to check out on certain platforms such as Tubi, Amazon Prime, Plex TV. But I'm going to let him do a little bit more of the talking tonight. So if we want to go ahead and get started, we're going to bring in Jason Kenzie. Hi, how are you?
Hello, Michelle. I'm very good. Thank you for having me here.
Yeah, well, of course. Like I said, was listening to a lot of the stories and the research and different things, when we're talking about cryptids and all this, because everybody runs to that paranormal side, but don't realize, the paranormal is kind of that otherworldly, which a lot of this falls in the same place, and was so intrigued. I caught myself a little bit, confused. We did have a keynote speaker, and one of his things is with the whole Bigfoot thing is, is there a language and different things and stuff like that? And I just caught myself in this awe. So, what you do, especially like with your documentary, is, kind of doing that stuff. And I'm just like, this would be so intriguing, to go out just like we do, always trying to find if, there's somebody on the other side. And you're kind of doing it around the globe, actually, and finding all different things. So if you could just tell our listeners a little bit about yourself and some of the things you've done, let them get to know you also.
Sure, no problem. Uh, I started as a animal photojournalist. So basically, I was uh, taking photos of people who lived with exotic animals like wolves or tigers or bears, monkeys, alligators. My the motto I had is if I'm going to photograph and interview you on your exotic animals, they would be no cages. I have to be able to quote hug the animals. And when in 2019, when the world stopped breathing and we got shut down and we weren't able to go out and do anything anymore, uh, I couldn't do my animal adventures. So it was another web series I have uh, which is behind, kind of like behind the scenes of the animals, the photo shoots. But I wasn't able to do it, and then that's when I turned to, you know, looking into the lore of Sasquatch. I'm only about an hour and a half away from Harrison Hot Springs, which is the epicenter of the Bigfoot sightings anywhere in the world. And so I went and interviewed some eyewitnesses out there, and that was a lot of fun. It was the first person I interviewed. I didn't have a video camera on them because I was a 20% believer when I first started, but when I heard their story and they told me that they had someone else they wanted me to talk to, and then I went and took my video camera and I started, interviewing and talking, and then they would take me or they would show me kind of the area to go. So I went deep into the forest of British Columbia, and I found a lake. Well, there was a lake in the middle of the mountains, and I hiked up to it, and there was hundreds of these giant footprints that went right through the lake. And I had a drone, so I droned the lake, and you could clearly see all the footprints. And even on land, when I'm standing there looking into the water, I could see uh, footprint like the toes. I'm still not saying it was made by Bigfoot, but I, took the footage to the First Nations people, and they said that I found the migration path of the Sasquatch people from Alaska all the way down to California, like their path that they would take. And then I got really excited, and that was my first Searching for Sasquatch documentary. And after that, I started flying all over North America, uh, interviewing eyewitnesses, and their stories intrigued me, and I would, have them either take me to where they had their encounter or show me on a map or where to go. And then I would carry on looking for these, massive creatures and the stuff that I've seen and recorded, and would just blow you away. And I just got back from 1 month of filming and exploring 4 different states, from the Ozark Mountain, to Arkansas, to Louisiana and Michigan, northern Michigan. Uh, and yeah, in fact, just 2 days ago, we were deep into the forest out by an undisclosed location in Michigan, and it was crazy. In fact, I believe that there was a bit of paranormal uh, incident that happened at the same time. And we realized after we were walking around in the forest looking for footprints and looking at all the tree breaks that we were surrounded by these giant mounds of dirt. And then we realized, I think this is the Indian mounds. And then you have these giant rocks that were almost like markers. And then all of a sudden, we heard some howls in the distance, unexplained, and then the coyotes would howl right afterwards. And then we started seeing these creatures peeking from behind trees, watching us. And I was with there was 4 of us, and the 2 people that we were with were hunters, and they were good. Like, they were great, like really good hunters. In fact, they were showing us some hunting skills of theirs, showing about animals and the rutting and the scratching on the bark and certain stuff. They were really good trackers, so we could track. But at one point, we were surrounded by whatever they were, and we could hear them walking in the forest around us, tracking. And at one point, I was walking, and what I heard was, and it felt like it ran up on me from behind, and it kind of hit my back, and it felt like it was going to bulldoze me over. And I jumped and I turned around thinking that it was David, that was beside me, and it wasn't. There was no one there. David was on the other side of me, and I jumped and I screamed like you know,
Yeah.
screamed, blood curdling scream, like, "Ah!" And I turned, I said, oh my gosh, man, I thought something just ran up on me and touched, like almost kind of pushed me. And at the same time as that happened, what the other guy that was with us, he actually got, like his backpack got grabbed from the other side and he jumped like instantly. It was like constantly. And I was like, wow, that is like, I bet you this is kind of really paranormal. Then we started finding the weirdest tree structures. Like there was one we found, it was like a spider web. I call it a spider web because the trees go in an angle and then it's almost like a circle in the middle. The way it's it's and then a tree would be holding it down, and it was like a giant X, and then it would be weaved in the middle. The pictures are pretty cool, and I was filming everything. My
Oh,
camera
that's
was like
crazy.
filming. Oh yeah, it was. You know, we started getting very nervous because we could see these peakers or these whatever they were. You could see them. They stick their head out from behind the trees, and then as soon as the light was directly on them, they would duck back behind the tree. And then at one point, uh, David got uh, grunted at. It was like a and that made him jump. And we went into that little area where he got grunted, and then we saw a peaker, and then we kind of ran towards it. Yeah, I know, stupid. You know,
We
allegedly
do the
nine.
same thing, you
Yeah,
know? We do the
yeah.
same thing, we run at it. Yep.
The only problem is you are probably running towards a paranormal thing, and I'm running towards an allegedly 9 foot, 1,000 pound, monstrous creature that could just, twist my head off. But yeah, and then we could hear it run off. And then it dawned on me, and I stopped and I look around. I'm like, wait a second, guys. For some reason, I have a feeling they are trying to lure us deeper into the forest because we totally got turned around. And if it wasn't for the trackers that we were with, it may have taken a little bit longer to get out. But they were so good at what they did that we were able, even as scared, as worrying and scared as we were, we actually made our way back to the main. There was a little trail that a 2-track that we were walking on before we ventured into the forest. But yeah, and then on the way out of the forest, they we could hear whatever they were beside us on either side, stalking us back to the vehicles all the way. Yeah, it was a pretty fun night actually, and I was glad I had my
It
camera to capture it all.
Yeah. Well, and, like you said, since there was some paranormal, we've been to some areas where, when you do have, like, Native American spirits, they actually get very animalistic when they try to push you away from wherever you need to be,
Yeah,
and we see them, like, up in the trees, or we see them behind the trees, almost like they're ready to, start attacking.
yeah,
And that is the most eerie feeling that you can get because you're not trying to be disrespectful, but at the same time, you don't know where that's at. So, I mean, having all that
yeah,
together with what you were doing, oh my
yeah.
gosh.
Well, the fact that Matt and Laura, those are the two trackers that were with us, incredible people, uh, and they were so great at tracking and getting us kind of out of the forest back to the 2-track. But the fact that Matt got his backpack grabbed,
Yeah.
oh, like within, I would say 9 seconds or 10 seconds after something ran up on me from behind. Like it's really hard to explain, but it was like I could hear it running, "Ba, ba, 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 ba," and it was like wind or something, and it really made me feel like it was going to go right over me, and I to a point where I jumped and kind of jumped uh,
Yeah.
backwards or expecting, thinking that it was David. Um, so Matt and Laura, they would go to the end of. So we drove about 4.5 miles into the forest. First off, we were like miles into the forest to begin with before we even turned on the two track, and then we drove 4.5 miles deeper into the forest, and then we hiked about a mile and a half uh, along the trail and then into the forest. But Laura and Matt, they were there just at the edge of the actual two track, like before there was a barricade, and they were there 2 weeks ago, and they were coyote hunting, and so they had a hurt fawn uh, sound. They were screaming it into the forest, and all of a sudden, something charged at them through the forest towards them, and it was shaking the trees and everything, and it kind of bluff charged them, whatever it was, and it scared them so bad they kind of jumped back into their trucks and took off, and they hadn't been back there for 2 weeks, and then when I met them, because I went to the Bigfoot Bash conference,
Yeah.
and that's where we met them. And when I told them what I did for a living as a monster hunter, they were like, "Wow, we want to take you to this place." So they felt a little bit more comfortable going back to that space with David and I.
So do you feel like it's kind of like a combination of a couple of things going on there? I
Yes,
mean, because
I
I
do.
do know when you deal with any kind of Native American type of spirits,
Yeah,
they are very aggressive and they can make things like trees, move and stuff
yeah,
that could maybe, give you that false sense of, something else. That is just wow. You know what I mean?
yeah,
I go into abandoned buildings and some outside, but, having that feeling, because I've had that feeling where it feels like you got something running up on you and you're getting ready to get out of its way.
yeah,
It is the most eerie feeling to have because you
yeah,
don't it's unseen.
yeah, yeah. It totally. And yeah, it was a definitely an interesting night. The tree structures that we were finding at one point. So I'm filming all this too. So I'm filming that we found four tree structures in one little area, and they stuck out big time. And
Oh, wow.
after about maybe 10 minutes of filming them and talking and looking at them and saying, trying to make sure that it wasn't just tree fall, I turned to everyone. I said, "Okay, well, you know what? Let's go a little bit further." And I took a step and I almost tripped and landed on my face, because right below the tree structure that we did not see at first were these logs that were placed in almost like a rune, like they were placed in
For
angles.
protection or something?
I don't know, but it was definitely like it wasn't naturally made. They were broken on either side, not cut, and they were placed almost like a rune, like
Yeah.
a symbol down below. And there were thick logs too. They were probably about you know maybe 2.5 inches in diameter. So they were placed down, and yeah, it was the oddest thing. And that's when I realized that this is one 100% made with something with thumbs.
Oh,
That's what
wow.
So I think there was a combination of both, maybe these Bigfoot creatures and the paranormal, with probably the Indian burial
Yeah.
grounds right there. Um, but it was, yeah, it was a fun night, and I am sitting on this footage right now and getting ready to edit it and figure out how I'm gonna, show this to the world.
It's gonna be amazing. That's what it's gonna be. People are probably gonna be, like, waiting for it after the show, like, "Okay, when's it coming?" And
Yeah,
again, to see these documentaries of yours, if they go to Amazon Prime, Tubi, Plex TV, that's kinda where they can see some of the work you've done already and then kinda wait for this new product that you're gonna be coming out with, correct?
yeah, yeah. And I
R
just signed a contract to a new streaming platform called Parastream, which is
Okay.
in England. out of
Very
England.
nice.
Yeah,
Very nice.
out of Britain. So
Oh,
that,
that's gonna be amazing because
and
now, I mean, literally, you are completely around the world, so everybody can enjoy it.
yeah, so I'm actually thinking of going out. Like they're thinking of flying me out to Britain to go to film out there. There's a a group out there called the Monster Squad.
Okay.
So they go and they do all like monsters of the UK, all the and Parastream is everything paranormal, everything.
Nice.
In fact, you would
Nice.
probably enjoy it. You should,
I need to check it
if you
out.
get a chance, look them up and it's and searching for Sasquatch. It's on Parastream also, and in fact, they just got like a new documentary of mine that no one else has at the moment. At the
Okay.
moment, so it's a newest searching for Sasquatch documentary that I just launched, and it's on that platform. It's number 12.
Nice. So, we talk about Bigfoot, you've been, doing this for a while now. Um, and you also have got stated that, you look other cryptids, other monsters, I guess we would say.
Yeah.
Um, is there a story? Have you ran into anything else? Because, we look at things, whether they're legends, folklore, different things like that. But while you're doing this searching, so, like this last thing that you've done, which is amazing because you've probably caught more than what you think. You're probably gonna start going through it and be like, "What?" But what other kind of cryptids have you ever,
So,
thought that you've captured or you have captured?
well, I think I caught the audio of Dogman. We're out
N
in northern Michigan, interviewing and going out searching for Dogman.
Yeah,
I'm about to do a documentary on the Jersey Devil
okay.
and Mothman. I'm going to go out and do some research on Mothman. I have captured many. It's interesting because for some reason these Bigfoot creatures like to be around um, graveyards.
Okay.
So we've caught other paranormal, like, because I have two paranormal documentaries called Paranormal Adventures,
Uh-huh.
and going out searching for the undead is interesting, to say the least.
Oh,
Um,
I can definitely, go with that one because yep.
but yeah, so we were just down in the swamps of Florida doing the skunk ape, and then
Okay.
I went and just got back from Louisiana, and we were searching and interviewing people on the Rougarou.
Oh, I remember the stories of that.
Yeah, so and that might be either a mix between a Bigfoot-like creature and maybe something paranormal, maybe.
Well, and when we talk about a lot of the cryptids and stuff like that, beside, Bigfoot is its own entity, its own creature and stuff like that. Do you feel like some of the other cryptids, because of the stories that we've heard for so long, do you believe that, there is like a paranormal tie into some of these monsters? Do you think that energy form kind of is part of these creatures?
You know, until I can physically see something like one of these creatures do something um, that is paranormal, I cannot say 100% of um, that they can do this. But I'm telling you, the stuff that I've seen and the things like the bending of trees, I'm almost starting to believe that these creatures can manipulate the trees to the to the point where they can actually bend them. Because in northern Michigan, we hiked up on a giant nest. It was 7 feet in diameter and it was 3 feet high. And it was incredible. And as we were walking up on it, there was some screaming or something in the forest, as if something was mad. We hadn't seen the nest yet. We all stopped and was like, what the heck was that? And then we walked about 20 feet, and there, right on the ground, right in just off the path was this giant nest. And when you see the video or you see the pictures, you'll see that it's completely like all the all the sticks are like molded to kind of turn
Yeah.
to act like the circle. And it's really neat. We were inside the nest looking for, I think we found maybe some saliva. We sent it away for some testing. Um, I have seen, there was one time we were up in Pennsylvania on the border of New York, and we're in the middle of the forest. We got taken to this area deep in the forest by a tracker. He used to be a tracker for the army, and he was hunting one day, and he saw Bigfoot came out of the forest, and he raised up his gun to look at it through the scope to get a closer look, and it like turned and looked at him, and then it just walked into the forest, changed his life. So he actually took us to the area, and we drove for probably an hour to get to his spot in the middle of the forest. And then we went off trail, and we went, into the forest. And as we're walking, I'm standing there with a flashlight, and I'm scanning the forest. And all of a sudden it was like this creature was standing, and it was as if it was about maybe 20 yards from us, and my light hit it, and it's as if I caught it looking, and it was like, oh, and ducked behind the tree. Well, I looked at the tracker. His son came with us, and his son looked at me. I looked at him, and he's like, yeah, I saw it. I'm like, guy, I saw something. It went behind the tree. And the tracker and I was with who was it? I was Gwendolyn Guthrie was beside me, and the tracker, and we walked really quick towards the spot. And then I was with a couple of the she squatchers and Chad Dentma, and we got to the tree, and as we walked, and we could hear it run off as we're approaching. And as I got across the tree, no lie, as I am sitting here right now with my voice, because you can't see me, I looked around the tree and on the ground, about 3 feet high, was a tree structure, a little tiny, it was, it's hard to explain. It didn't look like when you make a fire pit and you put
Yes.
the logs like that, didn't look like that. It was a little bit like it was unique, and it was just sitting there, and it was just right. It looked like a little tiny teepee. And I looked at everyone and like, come on, guys, this is too different. Like, I've never seen this. And then all of a sudden we look up, and there in the forest, I want to say 100 feet, was this bright red light. And it looked like it was about 4 or 5 inches in diameter. And it kind of looked like a car tail light. And it was moving through the forest. And obviously, we were so deep in the forest, off trail, we weren't even looking in the direction of where we had parked the vehicle. The vehicle was way behind us. So there wasn't even a road in front of us. And so I do what any just normal person does. I start running towards it because I'm an idiot. And I'm yelling. I'm like, excuse me, hello, hello. If you're a hunter, I'm unarmed. Hello. If you're Bigfoot, please don't eat me. Go for the others behind me. Excuse me. And I'm yelling this into the forest as I'm running towards it. And I'm jumping logs. Like I jump a log, and it was like my ADHD just took over. And I'm like, instead of going squirrel, I look straight down. I'm like, footprint. There is like a 14-inch footprint right there, and totally forgot all about the light, like the big globe of the light that was going through the forest. I'm like, excuse me, footprint. guys, there's a footprint. Yeah, and no lie, it was just like that, right? I'm like, and suddenly we did measurements. We were like, we could see the toes and everything. And then after about, it must have been 10 minutes, maybe 5 minutes. It just seemed longer. But after we did the measurements and we were so intrigued, I'm like, oh, what about that light? And we look up and the light's no more. There was the globe. It's like, the big red light had just disappeared. But yeah, and same, I'm filming the whole thing. My camera is rolling the whole time. I couldn't get the light on my camera, which was crappy. Um, but I got the footprint. I got that little tree thing. It was too bad that the camera was actually facing the other way when I shone the light, or we would have caught the creature with the eyes that
So,
ducked behind the. And it wasn't even that. I didn't look that big though. Maybe 6 feet tall, like
well, do
off
you
the
think it
ground.
was a creature, or do you think it could have been maybe some kind of UFO type of thing?
I don't know. That is a good question. Um, and this area did have a lot of you know
Yeah.
UFO activity that people have seen in the skies.
And I mean, when you're talking about these, cryptids, Bigfoot, anything with the paranormal, a lot of times there is that UFO type of stuff going on. And the way you were explaining that light, to see that, that could actually have been something that you might have caught without realizing it.
Yeah, exactly. I haven't even looked at the footage yet because
Yeah.
I have about 6 or 7 documentaries that I have to work on, so I'm doing them in order.
Nice. So my question is, so when I was at the XCon this weekend, I had heard, the stories of Bigfoot and stuff, and a lot of them talked about a certain smell that they have, especially if you're getting too close.
Yeah,
So when you're out doing the stuff, do you ever get that smell? They said it's a, horrendous smell,
yeah.
especially it's something that they put off, and like you being close to like maybe the nest or, seeing the trees the way they're bent up. Do you get a sense of that smell when if you're getting too close to something?
So I have smelled that terrible smell.
Okay.
Um, when I was one of my the very first Bigfoot adventure I went on after I launched the first documentary. The very first I was in the UP of Michigan, and we were on ATVs and we were scouting out the back during the day, like in the forest, and I spotted a giant axe, the big tree. I want to say 3 trees. There was these trees that were massive, and one looked like it was pushed over, and the other one looked like it was ripped out of the ground and walked over and placed to form a giant X. And then on top of it was another tree that was literally balancing on top. And I said to everyone, "Hey, I'm going to spend the night here in a hammock. I'm just going to tie a hammock up to the close to the bottom of this tree X." And so everyone is like, "Jay, this means danger or don't cross." And I'm like, I'm like I said, I'm like a 20% believer. So that night, as we were walking towards the tent, we smelled this horrendous um, smell. Like it was disgusting. It was like, I think it was like walking in a cloud. It's like a cloud of stink that's floating through the air, and it passes through you or you pass through it, because it only lasts for seconds. And so we smelt that. And then I went and spent the night in the hammock tent. And about 3 o'clock in the morning, I got woken up by a big crack in the forest. And then something walked up on me, and you could hear crunch, crunch, crunch. And it stopped directly in front of me. And as it's walking, I could feel the vibration off the rope of my hammock tent. And it stopped about maybe 10 feet from me, and it grunted in my ear. It was like, oh, and not only could I hear it, I felt it. And then I started shaking uncontrollably. Um, but even though it was so close to me, I didn't smell anything at that moment. That's because I was, too busy, thinking in my head how I'm going to dig my own grave because I'm like, what the? It's more like I could smell me. I was so scared.
So, yeah, I couldn't even imagine that because, like I said, I'm pretty sure we have run into certain things as we're doing, our investigations of different places outside and stuff like that too. But, you know, at that time, like a lot of them were saying this weekend too, some people talk about Bigfoot and all that, and they kinda, like, romanticize it, like, talking to it telepathically and like they're a big cuddly bear that you can just hug, and I've always thought that was a strange way of kind of explaining that, but this weekend, it was more of, they're gonna eat you or
Yeah,
kill you or
yeah.
whatever, like a bear would. At any time when you're doing this stuff, have you ever just thought, what the hell am I doing? Not just because of the videos, but just in general, or is it more of an adrenaline rush for you?
Yeah, well, I've always loved a good mystery. And in my entire life, I've always seeked out, you know, fun and exciting, you know, trips and hiking and, doing excited, and trying to figure out, mysteries. So Sasquatch is a mystery all to itself. And yes, there's been a few times. I mean, one time I was in the middle of the forest by myself and I'm trying to get back to my camp and my light and my flashlight died and I had nothing else. I will not go back in the forest without having 2 or 3 flashlights, just to let you know. But my flashlight went out and I had no other light source. So I basically backed up against a tree and sat down and just listened to the entire forest come alive at night. And when your imagination is going nuts, yeah, there was a few times I thought, what am I doing? Like, this is crazy. But 30 expeditions, uh, over 13 different locations throughout North America, and all these, um, I'm still alive. And I've been close to whatever these creatures are, these Bigfoot creatures coming close to me, and they haven't harmed me yet.
Yeah.
So yeah, so yeah, and even Dogman, right? I've been into the epicenter of where these Dogman creatures are allegedly supposed to live, and had whatever they were come around us, and they could easily just take us out. I do have a theory though about hunters, though. You want to hear my theory about hunters?
Absolutely.
So I've interviewed quite a few hunters who have, like, you always hear stories about hunters who go missing in the forest. They either go missing and are never found, or they are found but they're dead, like they're being ripped apart or they're. And I've interviewed hunters who have said they were sitting there and waiting, for deer or something to come by, and they see a family of them, or they see one of them or 2 of them go walking by, and they raise their gun up, and they're looking through the scope. And so everybody, a lot of people would say, "Why didn't you take the shot?" Because you could end this mystery and prove to the world 100%. Well, I believe that the hunters that go missing and are never seen again are the ones that did take the shot. And either they wounded the Bigfoot and the Bigfoot turned on them, or it killed the Bigfoot and then the others that are around, killed the hunter. That's what I think. Because, that's what I believe.
Well, and that would make a lot of sense. I mean, if they have to protect themselves too, just like we would.
Yeah,
So, the question I always asked is, and I kind of think about it this way, they say, well, there's really been never no evidence, no bones, no things
yeah.
like that. And I've always thought, well, we hear about the dinosaurs and they find bones and they tell us that's what these bones are. Do you believe that maybe some of these scientists might actually have bones of some big, of a Bigfoot and not actually able to tell that it is, and so they just say, "Oh, it was part of this dinosaur family."
Or they have the bones and they know exactly what it is. In fact, I would
Ooh.
not be surprised if our government actually has some of them in captivity.
Well, see, and I was wondering that too because, like I said, I was hearing these stories, and I'm just like, there is so many stories, just like when you hear people with UFOs and abductions.
Yeah,
All these stories, no matter where you go, these people could, be thousands of miles away, don't know each other, but there's that same story. Everybody knows the smell, the sounds, tree formations, different things like that. But then yet we have nothing, and it just always makes me wonder, why would we be holding that back, for one?
yeah,
Because it would be extraordinary to know that these types of creatures still, do exist. But, I've always thought, it's so easy for them to throw things out about dinosaurs or, the crazy fish and stuff we find in the oceans
yeah,
that, they're sitting on something or they have it and don't know and trying to figure it out. But I never thought about, they could have some of those in captivity. I mean, that
yeah,
would make a lot of sense to me, though.
yeah. Well, everyone says, well, so many people I've talked to have said, well, they don't want to come public with, telling people that there were Bigfoots in the forest because then nobody would go into the forest and then the parks and the, forestry would lose, billions and billions of dollars and money and stuff, which could be a big possibility, except for one thing. We know that there are sharks, great white sharks, in a lot of the East Coast waters. And there is still millions of people that still dive into the beaches. We
Yeah.
hear about shark attacks. We know there's these, 20-foot or these 15-foot great whites or bull sharks or tiger sharks just off the coast of Florida. And there's still millions of people that flock to the beaches and go swimming into these waters that are shark infested. So if we tell people that there are giant monstrous creatures living in the forest, I'm pretty sure people are still going to go hiking and still going to go camping.
Yeah. Well, and that's just like, when people talk about abductions and different things like that with UFOs, but people still go out and keep searching for it too, whether it would be dangerous or not. I think at this point it would be what we choose to do with all this. And, it's always been said, we can't handle what real truths are out there. Well, we must be able to because everybody's out searching for something,
Yeah,
because we've got to the point where we're not just staying stable in one area and saying, okay, this is what life's about.
yeah,
Everybody has kind of went out and everybody's looking for answers all over the place. And it's really it was, like I said, when I was hearing a lot of these things and just talking, to the people themselves, what got them involved, what made them decide to do this. It was interesting because it was always something that just was really stuck in their mind, like, "Why do I think about it all the time?" Or, actually had something happen to me, so now I'm trying to find the answers. And
yeah,
it's very interesting how people are just now starting to come out more and more with all of it.
it's definitely getting busier and busier with the pop culture of the creatures. I don't know. Maybe it's because it's October. Maybe
You know,
because
I yeah, because I know I've been getting a lot more phone calls because it's October, so now everybody thinks, there's more ghosties, but
Yeah,
they don't realize they're here all the time.
that's right.
Um,
You know what? You might as well start something new. Okay, so only October, Bigfoot and Casper the Ghost get together. Only in October, everyone. So get out
yeah.
there.
And but it is interesting to, how people do kind of put all that in play. It is like I said, I was just fascinated because it seems like as I was listening to people talk and then talking to them, and I was there last year and was kind of the same thing. It became like a full circle. It was kind of like everything had like a connection, from UFOs to cryptids to Bigfoot to paranormal. And it just made this big circle because there was so many things that had, the commonality of all of it. And I've been just so mind blown that I'm catching myself, no pun intended, but going down that rabbit hole of, is there a connection of all of it?
Yeah.
And are we all going to that realm and finding these? I mean, are we now becoming able to cross over to a certain part to start really seeing all this? What are your thoughts?
Well, everything is still so. Yeah, I totally agree with you on that. When we go into the forest searching for these creatures, especially when you're around graveyards, I mean, there's going to be a paranormal aspect there,
Yeah.
right? Um, we go to these houses where these people say they've seen these Bigfoot creatures look through the windows. But it turns out when we go there and we do an investigation, we find paranormal at the same time. So everything kind of, you know, like I imagine where the Jersey Devil is supposed to live in those forests. I wouldn't be surprised if there was other cryptids in that forest at the same time. So even though we're searching for the Jersey Devil, we end up, you know, finding another cryptid or even a paranormal one for that much, like ghosts or
Yeah.
spirits. It's definitely all in the same kind of bowl of supernatural. You just stir it up, and now
Yeah.
UFOs and Bigfoot. I have interviewed a few people who interviewed a cop one time that said that she saw uh, a UFO and it sped off, and then these two big, hairy, lumbering creatures came walking out of the forest towards her. These Bigfoot-like creatures. So there could be a big possibility that they're hand in hand, right? Maybe not the two creatures hand in hand because that would be interesting. But other than that, um, yeah, it's interesting.
Or maybe Bigfoot and some of these cryptids are really different species of aliens, and we're just looking at them differently because they're bringing them down in different sectors. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I'm telling you, it'd be quite frightening to be you know hiking to the forest and you come around a tree and there's a big large stump with like four different cryptids all having tea, including an alien, and they turn and look at you. Uh, that would be terrifying all to itself.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. And, we talk about, the dimensional signs of different sides and things like that, and I'm just wondering at some point, since we are all more open, they talk about the paranormal, the veil is thinning, I kind of believe the veil's never thinning. I just think more people are opening their eyes and seeing what they're supposed to see. But that's kind of how I feel with all this because it seems like there's more and more sightings, there's more stories, and if you listen to a story from someone of today and a story that was told, back in the 40s, the similarity is so great that there's got to be that truth in there somewhere.
Well, the First Nations people have been in North America have been here for the stories that go back hundreds and hundreds of years before any technology. I mean, even back 200-300 years ago, they're almost like caveman. Like there was no technology, there was nothing, there was, so for them to have the same stories
Yeah.
all over the same place, and there was no way for them to get to meet each other. So, but they all have the same kind of story of these big hairy creatures living in the mountains.
Yeah, I mean, just like when we talk about like UFOs, they had it in the pyramids. There's drawings of them,
Yeah,
you know. And when you look at if you go to the Native American sites and they had drawings, that they would put out there, they had those big hairy creatures. So we know this has even gone further back. It's so easy for people to say, I'm going to talk to, a ghost from the 1800s. It makes sense. But then when you're looking at when Native Americans and even the Egyptians were out there to actually see drawings and go, well, how would they have known? Well, they were seeing it though, that time too. So there is validity in all of it.
yeah, yeah, totally agree with that.
So, um, wow, this has been so interesting. I I just kind of want to know, but it would be also very interesting to kind of, see it at that firsthand thing, how much of the paranormal does, creep into when you're looking at it, or does it when that portal or vortex opens to bring more of that energy in? Does that actually start all the other stuff to really come in? Is it that energy based, or is it, being primates, are they just out there? How are we missing them? Are we not looking at the right things? Are we passing them up when we're going on hikes and don't even realize they're right there?
Yeah, that could be a big possibility. I have not seen or felt a portal while I've been on my adventures. I haven't seen that yet, so I can't really comment on it. I can't really say if there truly are the portals. I would love to be able to experience something like that. For all I know, maybe those balls of light, because I've seen them multiple times on my adventures. Maybe those balls of light are the end results of a portal closing. For all I know, it's only a theory.
Yeah, it is a theory, but it's a great theory, something to be able to go on. Before we finish tonight, if you could just let everybody know about the name of your documentary again, where they can see those, and, kind of a timeline when you have some other stuff coming up, if you want to go ahead and kind of just plug that for us.
Sure. So you can find if you were to if people would just Google my name, Jason Kenzie, you will actually find like all my work, especially if it's Jason Kenzie Sasquatch or Jason Kenzie Bigfoot. But you can find them on Tubi. Right now, there is physically 11 of them out there. Actually, there's 15 in total, but that's also including the Paranormal Adventures one. But number 12 will be on Tubi soon. You can also, I have a website called searchingforsasquatch.ca. People can go there. You can also find me on TikTok under Searching for Sasquatch. Um, Instagram is Searching Sasquatch. Dang it, someone had the 4. But you can find me. Yeah, I'm all over. You can find news articles. You can find me. I have 4 children's books also called Adventures of Little JJ, and the last 2 of them has to do with is Bigfoot related because I wanted to teach kids, how to, don't be scared of the dark, and there's actually one of them is actually has a little ghost in there and has the Loch Ness monster and it has a little, and they're all young. They're all young. There's a moth boy. There's moth boy in there. And I did a comic book that people can find too that I called Searching for Sasquatch and the Hidden Treasure of Bigfoot Mountain Valley, Bigfoot Valley. Yeah, there's a lot that you can find. I have a I I have music out there too, a song called "Searching for Sasquatch" that people can find and listen to. It's like a mix between country and bluegrass. Um, yeah, there's a lot that I've done, and there's a lot more. So I'm working on about 6 more Bigfoot documentaries that will be launched next year. I'm just working on them now. Yeah, yeah. There's a lot of stuff happening.
That sounds
There's some,
amazing. That
yeah,
so guys, again, you just put in, what he said and you can find him everywhere. I would, challenge you guys to at least check it out and see what you guys think.
and Michelle,
Jason, yes,
you can come out with me one time on a Bigfoot adventure. We'll have to try and set
oh,
something up if you'd like that.
I would absolutely love that. I would so geek out. I'm gonna tell you, I would geek out.
Whereabouts do you live?
I am actually in the Midwest. I'm in Iowa.
In Iowa. Okay.
Yeah,
Okay. So I have to figure out, and because I'm going back out there to Michigan and uh, to film, the Mothman and the Jersey Devils. So maybe somewhere around that, we can try and figure out how we can all meet up.
that would be amazing. I would love to just sit and talk. I want to thank everyone for listening tonight. Again, sending you all my love and thank you for the support. Jason, again, thank you for joining us tonight. And until next time, to all of you, I will see you in the dark.